Okay, so the Kansas City Chiefs traded Tyreek Hill to the Miami Dolphins. Um, I think this is a major victory for the Miami Dolphins. This is a major loss for the Kansas City Chiefs. Tyreek Hill is a pro. He's a Pro Bowl, All Pro caliber wide receiver. For anybody to think that he's just a straight line receiver is a huge indictment on what Tyreek Hill brings at the receiver position. Now, when I first saw Tyreek Hill, I thought he was a straight line runner. He was like a Deshaun Jackson, where you line him up outside against an average speed, corner or whatever, and you just let him run right past him. And most likely, he'll get you maybe 15 to 20 yard plus catches downfield or something like that. Like, he's one of those receivers. But I mean, this dude is able to make the difficult catches in double coverage. He's able to split defenders and make it look like defenders are not running as fast. Like, all right, let me say this, and this has always been my stance when it came to Tyreek Hill. I don't think he's the fastest player I've ever seen. Okay, I think I don't know. I think Devin Hester was either just as fast or faster. Michael Vick, you could throw Michael Vick in there. The stuff that we saw Vick do, we've never seen a quarterback do, ever. And we probably still haven't to this day seen a quarterback control a defense with the way he runs the ball, as physical as those defenses were, like Michael Vick. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, Lamar Jackson is just as fast, and Lamar Jackson does, kind of what Vick does. Defenses play differently now. I'm not saying they're not able to be as physical, which they're not. I'm just saying the defensive philosophy has changed. There is no more you get that player down at all costs. You have to watch how you tackle players now. They give you a hitbox. If you hit them too low, penalty. If you hit them too high, penalty. You have to hit them just right. You have to adjust your head to make sure. I mean, to be a great defender in today's league, I would have to say you're probably one of the most technically sound defenders in the history of the NFL, because with all the restrictions that defensive players have on them, to be able to, and this is why we're seeing high scoring games like we are, is because the defenses have been quelled to the point where, like, to bet on a defense is not your best bet. This is why when Tampa Bay went on that little run and the defense was just going absolutely crazy, it was surprising people because we're not used to seeing that anymore. And it's not that they were uber physical or anything like that. It's they made outstanding play after outstanding play, and they were able to outthink the offense. It was crazy. I think Todd Bowles deserved the MVP for that performance that he displayed, getting those guys where they needed to be. But Tyreek Hill in this era is the fastest player that we have. I mean, I've seen this guy make a catch, like maybe 15, 20 yards downfield, away from the line of scrimmage. There's a safety, there's a corner, you probably got a linebacker somewhere in the area, and not only get to the touchdown, but he ran through the defense to get to the touchdown, not past the defense. He ran through the defense. They couldn't catch him. I mean, that kind of speed, that kind of agility, I mean, that kind of change of direction that you have, I mean, the dude is special. He's special, and he's a top 5 receiver for a reason. I think this was a major victory for the Miami Dolphins. I think this is a huge loss, and this is going to be a pivotal season for Patrick Mahomes. This is going to be one of those seasons where we are praising this dude for being as good as we believed he was, or this is going to pose all kinds of questions. Was Tyreek Hill the catalyst to what that made Kansas City as dangerous as they were? Was he the catalyst? Because an argument can be made. Because I believe Tyreek Hill, he was in his second season when Patrick Mahomes got the start. I believe it was second. I think he was drafted in 2016. He was in his second or third season when Patrick Mahomes got to start, and he had that MVP season. So he was already in the league, and he was already like an established starting receiver. It's not like Patrick Mahomes. Him and Patrick Mahomes started at the same time, or he got on the field once Patrick got there, or something like that. It's not the case. He's been there for at least a year or two, and he was already an established starter at that point. An argument can be made. That's all I'm saying. But let's get to it.
What does this mean for the Chiefs? Well, I mean, the Chiefs are still, to me, they're a great football team. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a couple of things that you have to look at here. I think it's where do you value, and obviously Tyreek Hill is amazing, all the jet sweep stuff, all the slot receiver stuff that he does. He's an amazing athlete. He's an amazing football player. The returns, the whole 9 yards. But there's a philosophy in the National Football League. You don't pay slot receivers. You don't make slot receivers your number one payment as far as wide receivers. That's hallowed ground. That is reserved for the X receiver, the guy that lines up outside the numbers, single receiver side, and, the Devontae Adams of the world. So I think the Chiefs just made.
This is why I have such a low opinion of Mark Schlereth and his ability to speak the game. And it's hard for me to say that because Mark Schlereth is most likely a respected analyst when it comes to NFL, when it comes to the NFL. But stuff like this feels like incredibly slanted bias. That's what this feels like. He's a former Denver Broncos player. So I'm pretty sure, just like with Shannon Sharpe, they give the Broncos far more passes than you need to give them. And I think because the Denver Broncos and the Kansas City Chiefs, they were rivals, big-time rivals back in the 90s, early 2000s. They were big-time rivals. Probably still to this day, even though Denver hasn't been good for a while. Big-time rivals. Denver doesn't like Kansas City. Kansas City don't like Denver. I'm pretty sure that's the way it is. And right now, Mark Schlereth has proven that's what it is right now. For him to disrespect Tyreek Hill, to say that this dude is not an X receiver and you can't pay him like a Devontae Adams, is unbelievably crazy. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy for anybody to say that out of their mouth, let alone a supposed respected NFL analyst. Like, this doesn't make any sense.
Decision. We are not going to pay you like an X receiver. You're a slot guy. Here's what you're going to make. And they look at it like this is just the way we're going. So I don't know, Marcellus, if they're going to change directions based on going back to more traditional style of West Coast offense, multiple tight ends, maybe two-back offense. I don't know, but they just made they drew a line in the sand and said.
Pretty much what he's saying is they're going to go back to the way that the offense was when Alex Smith was there. Because when Alex Smith was there, the offense, the offense was completely different. More West Coast, more running back centric, more get the ball to the tight ends, more having receivers run quick, short, or medium routes. Not really so much deep, really. And then once Patrick Mahomes got in there, they kind of opened up the offense to more explosive down the field plays. They kind of left alone the running back stuff, and they were throwing it to the tight end. But the tight ends was 10 yards, somewhere between 10 and 15 yards away from the line of scrimmage. So they were going more out. But now he's talking about they're probably going to bring it back in. How is that not a culture shock for your offense? That's been high flying, at fast paced, high octane offense for like the last 4 or 5 years. How is that not a shock to the system that y'all have in place there? And who's to say that Tyreek Hill isn't a catalyst in that offense? If Mark Schlereth thinks in his mind, as a football mind, that we have to revert back to a West Coast offense than what we had previously. That means Tyreek Hill is a major addition. Now he's a major subtraction. And now we have to adjust what we do because we don't have him anymore. And that completely changes our whole offense. That does not help your argument. That proves that he is an next receiver. He's a top receiver. He should be paid like Devontae Adams. And because Patrick Mahomes wanted to be paid like one of the top dogs, well, congratulations. And for some reason, Chris Jones is getting like $30 million. When did nose tackles start getting paid $30 million? So they lost out on Tyreek Hill. I think this is going to be a major loss. But we'll see.
We are not paying a slot wide receiver. Done. We're just not going to make you the highest paid guy.
I don't think they drew a line in the sand. I think they read the line that was drawn in the sand.
Let me say this. Wiley is 100% correct. It's not that if they could keep him, they wanted Tyreek Hill to concede. They wanted him to be like, listen, okay, I like it here. We had tremendous success. I want to keep that going. I want to stay with Patrick. I want to stay with this team. And they were banking on that. They were hoping that he would give them a discount. And he said, nah, I'm good. It got to the point where, okay, now the Chiefs has to move on because they can't pay him. They're paying so many other people. I'm pretty sure they're planning on paying Travis Kelce once his contract is up, so they can't afford him. So they had to move on. It's not that they wanted to, it's they had to. Just like other players had to be moved on from because of salary cap issues. Like Devontae Adams had to be moved on from because they didn't have the money. They had to pay Aaron Rodgers. They got money. I'm pretty sure they're still suffering from paying Aaron Jones. Like they got money everywhere. They still haven't brought back Zadarius Smith. So it's not just the Packers. It's not just the Kansas City Chiefs. Many teams have to do this. So it's not that they wanted to. It's not that they looked at their team and was like, man, we don't need Tyreek Hill. It's that we can't afford to keep him here. And he won't give us the number. He won't accept the number that we want to give him. We have to let him go.
I didn't catch this when it was happening in real time, but after the trade went down, I started to look back and say, oh, I should have saw this one coming. All right, the Chiefs were set up for failure because of all the dynasty talk, including Tyreek Hill. You know, when they went out there and won one, everyone was talking about, oh, why not more than Jordan, including Tyreek Hill, 6 or 7. So that sets you up with an expectation that is very difficult to realize, right? But as improbable as it was, now it looks impossible to ever be dynastic without Tyreek Hill. Now let's talk about that line that they're reading. Remember last year we saw Patrick Mahomes in regression, and everyone was attributed it to, well, you know, defenses are going out there with too high.
The reason why Patrick Mahomes, I know what year he's talking about. It was right after they lost in the AFC Championship game to the Patriots. And Patrick Mahomes had a slow start. I believe Tyreek Hill missed like the first 6 games of that season. He was out for a few games that season. And then when he came back, that's when the offense started to look like themselves. This is what I'm saying. I don't understand why Mark Schlereth is talking like this. I don't understand it. I don't understand why he's talking like this. Like, you're a Broncos fan. I'm pretty sure you've watched Kansas City play. I'm pretty sure you know Tyreek Hill is way better than what you're assuming he is.
And with the 2 high safeties, Patrick Mahomes was trying to force feed it. Then he realized I can't force feed it. I got to dink and dunk it. Okay, I'm going to take y'all now into what that meant to these Kansas City Chiefs going forward. We don't need Tyreek Hill. We can't use Tyreek Hill. Yeah, he had 9 touchdowns, 1,100 yards. Tyreek Hill was still effective. But what were the results? Let's go back to the Super Bowl that they lost against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Did they score a touchdown in that Super Bowl? No. And then me, who everyone calls a hater, comes out and tells the truth too early and basically tells you guys, hey, Patrick Mahomes is about to be in regression in terms of team success. And it started to happen. That Super Bowl where Tampa Bay said, you guys are not going to beat us with your plan A.
And let me say this. That Super Bowl against the Buccaneers, I think the Chiefs would have had a far better chance if they're. I'm not gonna say just their tackles, all right, because they went out and they beat the Buffalo Bills, so which had in that year had a top 5 defense. Okay, their defense was ranked top 5. So it's not like, the offensive line couldn't get the job done. But for some reason, that Tampa Bay defense rained hell on Patrick Mahomes. And he could not, I'm watching the game and I'm like, I feel bad for this dude, bro. Like, he's running around for his life. And he's throwing some pretty accurate passes. And Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, they're dropping them. They're dropping them. The team let him down in that game. They let him down. But to assume anything like Tyreek Hill is overrated or anything like that is a joke.
And plan A is Tyreek Hill. And they didn't score a touchdown. And then the next year, stubborn as they are, didn't want to read the line that was drawn in the sand. They kept saying Tyreek Hill, Tyreek Hill. To success, but not dynastic success. What we're witnessing right now.
All right, so what are you going to do? All right, you have Travis Kelce, you have Tyreek Hill, two great players, right? But what else do you have? You're changing running backs every year, every other year. You're changing running backs. Okay? Your offensive line isn't as good as it should be. I mean, they tried to make moves to improve the offensive line, but injuries and just overall not really meeting the standards that you need your offensive line when you have a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes back there. They just wasn't playing at the level that they needed to play. And then besides Tyreek Hill, who else did they have? McCole Hardman? Is anybody, if Tyreek is no longer there, does anybody trust Juju Smith-Schuster and Mecole Hardman to lead that receiving core like Tyreek led that receiving core? And let me just say this, man. When they had Sammy Watkins, that offense was a whole lot better than when they didn't have Sammy Watkins. I mean, look, Tyreek Hill may not be an all-time great wide receiver. I don't think he is. I think that his speed affords him, and to his credit, he's gotten better with catching the ball in traffic, being able to find the ball once he's downfield, making unbelievable catches. He's done a great job with improving his abilities as a receiver. He's not strictly relying on his speed. But do I think he's a top 5 receiver? No. I just think that he's a really great receiver in this era where defenses are hamstrung to the point where, I mean, you could literally put up 40 points a game for like 2 months. And it's normal now. It's normal. Nobody bats an eyelash. Before, if you scored 35 points a game for half a season, I mean, you're one of the greatest offenses of all time. But now it's like, you need to at least be averaging about 20 to 24 points a game to have a decent offense.
Is a team that finally swallowed the pill that they were chewing on. It's not going to work with Tyreek Hill, man. If they want to be a dynasty, they got to figure out a different way. They got to figure out a plan B.
And yeah, that plan B is getting rid of your all-pro. See, I thought Wiley was going to see it the way that I was looking at it. Because he started off well, but again, this is another player. The San Diego Chargers, a former San Diego Charger. Okay, another one. Another one. You have a Broncos offensive lineman, and you have a defensive lineman who played for the Chargers, giving their Chiefs take. Tyreek Hill is an outstanding receiver. Now, is he going to have the same success in Miami? Probably not. Because I think Patrick Mahomes is a really great quarterback, and I think he's a really great receiver, and they complemented each other very well. And I don't know if Tua is as good as most people thought he was going to be coming out of college, especially with those injuries he had. But do I think that he's going to be a straight bum now? No. Not going to happen. And they got Jalen Waddle on that offense, Mike Gesicki. So it's not like he's going to be on that offense where they ain't got horses. They're going to have players. It's almost like the Chiefs got comfortable with the formula they had, and they tried to tweak it here and there, but they never really tried to mix the formula up to keep it fresh. And this is why teams don't have long-term success in the NFL. This is why teams can't maintain what it is they're doing. is because they have a gimmick, and if it works, they stick with that gimmick and they ride it until it doesn't work anymore. Now, and I used to bring this up all the time, but I'm going to bring it up again. What made New England so great for as long as they were great, they could adapt to every situation. If you need to run the ball, we run the ball. If you need to pass the ball, we pass the ball. If you need your defense to get the job done, we have the tools to get the defense where they need to be to make the plays. Your offensive line has been shit all season. Come playoff time, that offensive line is going to play like one of the best we've ever seen. We've seen it time and time again. They were chameleons. That's how they had the success. They were able to maintain it as long as they were able to change with the times. And these organizations, they don't change. They stay the same. It's the same wash, rinse, repeat. Wash, rinse, repeat, and they keep doing it over and over again. This is why Kansas City hasn't looked the same since the second year, where they were uber explosive. This is why they haven't looked the same. Because they refuse to adapt to the way the league is going. New England used to do a lot of gimmicky things, but they never stuck with it. Like the Wildcat, using defenders as offensive players, using offensive linemen as offensive players, as skill players, putting your wide receiver at cornerback. Like they were doing that stuff before we seen anybody else doing that stuff regularly. But the one thing about them was, if they got success from it, they didn't just keep doing it over and over again. Like, they know how to change with the situation. That's what these teams have a hard time doing, and this is why the Kansas City Chiefs couldn't maintain that success, was because Andy Reid doesn't understand the ability to shapeshift. All right, let me say this, and then I'm gonna start the video again. Ray Lewis made a speech, and I remember Joe Flacco was talking about this, and this is how I knew Joe Flacco was not going to last in this league. Ray Lewis made an analogy where he talked about you have to be a shape shifter. You have to be a shapeshifter. You have to learn how to adapt yourself to the situation. Whatever you need to be, you need to learn how to adapt and survive to that situation. And Joe Flacco said in an interview, because he thought it was funny to say this, he said, I'm looking at the person next to me like, what the hell is he talking about? And this is why Joe Flacco was not going to last. Because some people get it. This is why Ray Lewis had as much success as he had on some of the most overrated teams I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen a team that was so outside of the top 3 players on their defense, so devoid of talent in other areas, but was able to compensate so well because Ray Lewis was on that team and he understands. Tom Brady understands. This is why you see players like that have long-term success. This is why. It took Peyton Manning a long time to get it. You have to get it. You have to understand. In order to survive, you have to be able to change to the situation. And these teams don't understand that. But let's go.
Yeah, the plan B is Patrick Mahomes makes his money. And Patrick Mahomes earns his money. The evolution of Patrick Mahomes, to Mark's point, like they're going to have to change up how they approach things, whether it is identifying another slot receiver and Patrick Mahomes making him some semblance of what we saw from Tyreek Hill.
And it's funny that Mark Schlereth disrespects the slot receiver position so much, seeing as how we're in a league where you need a slot receiver. You need to have a slot receiver on you. You need to have like 3 of them. You need to have 3 receivers on your team that can play that slot position because it is important. Slot receivers now, they spread the defense out. They are catalysts. You need a slot receiver. So if Tyreek Hill was just a slot receiver, he is one of the most important pieces to an offense.
Wise, we're not going to get the same the same performance or the same excitement that we're going to get out of it. or if they change their approach, again, it's going to come back to Patrick Mahomes. Now,
like I said, this is going to be a make or break year for Patrick. Patrick better not struggle. I mean, he better stay consistent, even if he's not playing all-time great all year. He better not dip into average at all. It better just be straight across the board good, or you better go up to great. Because if you start to dip into average, people are going to start questioning you and questioning how good you can actually be. Because people were like, Patrick Mahomes was okay with all this baby goat stuff. He was fine with people talking about, but now if the criticism starts coming in, I want to see how this kid handles that.
Number is not looking quite as outrageous as it did when he first signed that 10-year deal, and that happened awfully quickly. And how much you believe whether this is the end of the Kansas City Chiefs really depends on how much you believe in Patrick Mahomes and his ability to evolve. So there's two things that are the result of this trade. Number one, Patrick Mahomes has to earn his money and demonstrate that he can make up for the loss of talent, which is what you would expect from a...
Look at this, man. They trade a top 5 receiver. They get a first round pick, which is 29th in the first round. This is a bottom 5 pick in the first round, and you get a second round pick, which is like 18th. I think that's like the 18th pick in the second round. 18th pick, and you get a 4th rounder the same year. You get 3 picks in this draft, and you get 2 picks next draft, which is a 4 and a 6. Now, if you're looking at the volume of picks that was accumulated, sure, it was a big haul. But you're talking, you get 1 first, 1 second, 2 fourths, and a 6th for a top 5 receiver. Okay, that first round pick or that second round pick better be a top tier player very soon, because this would be highway robbery if Tyreek Hill has the same impact on the Miami Dolphins he had on the Kansas City Chiefs. If Tua is able to stay healthy and he lives up to the hype, that Miami Dolphins team is going to be scary as hell, because they got Jalen Waddle. I got to see who they got at running back, but they got Mike Gesicki out there. That offensive line is pretty decent, and that defense is pretty good. They're going to be dangerous. We got to see how Tua falls.
Caliber quarterback of Mahomes making, and Tyreek Hill, you kind of become irrelevant now at this point, because you're going to the Miami Dolphins. This is not like Devontae Adams going to the Raiders. This is, you're going to the Miami Dolphins, at best the 3rd best team in that division and in the AFC, which, as we know, is loaded with talent. So Tyreek Hill, good luck. I'm glad you got...
You're talking about the Miami Dolphins that still had a respectable record. A respectable record behind 2 teams who made the playoffs. A respectable record. And Tua struggled. And that's if he played the whole season, because I don't know if he played the whole year. I don't believe he did. But I got to go back and check. With a struggling quarterback position, they were still able to have a respectable record. A respectable record, which is baffling me why Brian Flores was still fired, even though I think he was an absolute clown after he got fired. I mean, that's like getting dumped and then you deciding that you want to just post all these naked pics of your ex all over the internet because you think it'll make you feel better. But I don't understand why they fired Brian Flores, because I think he was figuring it out. I think he was getting that team where they needed to be. And I think if they had solid quarterback play, and if he had Tyreek Hill, I think this team might have been a 10, 11, 12 win team, possibly vying for a playoff spot. But the AFC is loaded. It's loaded full of decent teams. We got to see. But I love how, like, they're butchering this dude for what? Tyreek Hill, besides the stuff with his girlfriend and his kid, has been pretty much quiet off the field. He seems to be a respected player on the field. Whenever I see him talking to other players when he's mic'd up, he seems to have a certain level of respect for, the people that he's playing against and playing with. Doesn't seem like that bad of a guy at all. I watched some YouTube videos with him, and he seems like he's just a guy who's having fun, living the best years of his life. So I don't get it, man. Like, for some reason, man, when it comes to these black wide receivers, bruh, either you're quiet and nobody pays attention to you, or you have the biggest goddamn mouth in the world and people hate you. And people hate you. They either hate you or don't give a damn about you. It's crazy.
Paid. And I don't blame him for leaving, because I don't know that he could have gotten paid with the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not mad at him. But the reality is, life's going to be a lot different for Tyreek Hill. He's going to have to enjoy location and the paycheck, because he's not going to enjoy the same success.
That ain't all.
I think when you look at what Kansas City is doing, and I know people in Kansas City are probably freaking out about this, but one, as I mentioned earlier, we're not going to pay a slot receiver the biggest contract in NFL history, right, for the wide receiver position. I think the other thing is, if you go back, and Marcellus brought up the Super Bowl a couple years ago where they scored 9 points. If you go back and you look at that game tape, basically the Tampa Bay Buccaneers said, if you want to run it down our throats, be our guest. Like, just be like it was like a Disney movie. Be our guest, right? And they refused to do that. They're going to win the way they're going to win. And I think if you look at your organization and say, hey, man, what has that gotten us? Well, it's gotten us a win in the Super Bowl, but then it's gotten us a loss in the Super Bowl and another loss in the AFC Championship game. And I think, the old philosophy of we're going to win the way we want to win, I think Andy Reid is looking at that going, you know what? We've built an offensive line that is outstanding. We've invested in running backs. They went out and got another one in free agency. I think they're looking at this and saying there are more than one way to skin a cat. And I think you look at the whole kind of Mike Shanahan West Coast offense tree, and you look at 3 different coaches. Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco, how does he operate it? It's 2 backs, it's 2 tight ends, it's big formations, motions, and all that stuff. Then you go to,
Let me say this, and then I'm done with the video. We've seen how that experiment worked for Kyle Shanahan. This dude has been a part of 2 Super Bowls, lost them both in embarrassing fashion. Lost both of them in embarrassing fashion. Okay? It's good for you to be a regular season hero, okay? But when the postseason gets there, you either got it done or you didn't. And Kyle Shanahan has not proven that he has the ability to get it done. And you want to talk about Andy Reid having this delusional reality of I'm going to win the way I want to win. Yeah, that's the perfect embodiment of Kyle Shanahan. Look at what he did with the offense in Atlanta. Instead of them running the ball, killing the clock, and winning that game, he allowed the Patriots to get back into the game he just kept calling a pass play, pass, until they killed themselves with it. Kyle Shanahan is the perfect example of that. And again, this is a dude from Denver, a guy from Denver who idolizes Mike Shanahan. So I'm pretty sure you can figure out that he thinks very highly of his son, just like Shannon Sharp. Okay, like it's not a mystery. It's not a mystery, man. I'm a big dude in New Jersey, man. I have never commentated. I've never been an analyst for. But if I can see it, if I can see the bias. Like, come on, bruh. Like, it's not hard to see. Tyreek Hill is a phenomenal player. I think he's going to have good success there, depending on how Tua turns out. They may have to go get another quarterback, but we'll see in the future. But, I mean, just the level of immaturity by 2 grown men and then Rick Bucher. Rick Bucher, I don't understand why he's talking football. He's a basketball guy. So I'm done, man. I just spent 30 minutes on this shit. Listen, Tyreek Hill is going to have good success there. Will he have great success? I'm not sure. We have to see how the season unfolds. We have to see how Tua looks. We have to see if the new coach, Michael, whatever is Mike McMichael or whatever the hell his name is. We have to see how he turns out. So we'll see. We'll see how things go. All right.